Back at Harrenhal, we then see as Daemon's mind's infected by Alys. It was so good seeing Millie back, and this Supergirl was a shining actor in season 1. She really plays on Daemon's self-doubt and the fact that Rhaenyra is the one who tidies up his mistakes. In the vision, she's sewing Jaehaerys' head back on, and it symbolises her trying to put the pieces back together.
Also, I kind of feel like this is to highlight how similar she is to Helaena, both are mothers whose children were murdered, with this being a son for a son. They're both on opposite sides of the war, with Helaena also being shown as sewing in her season introduction. That was thought to foreshadow the sewing of Jaehaerys' head, and now we're symbolically seeing that come back together.
Also, I love how just before the vision starts, you can see feet under the cracks in the door before someone starts to push them. Visited by Alys, she tells him he's going to die in this place, which we'll talk more about in that promised spoiler section. Either way, when discussing Alys, the work says, "Who was this woman? A serving wench who dabbled in potions and spells," says Munkin. "A wood witch," claims Septon Eustace. "A malign enchantress who bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth," Mushroom would have us believe. Her name suggests bastard birth, but we know little of her father and less of her mother. Munkin and Eustace tells us that she was sired by Lord Lionel Strong in his callow youth, making her a natural half-sister to his son Harwin and Larys the Clubfoot. But Mushroom insists that she was much older, that she was a wet nurse to both boys, perhaps even to their father a generation earlier. Now, it's the next paragraph where we get into the occult side with them bringing it across for the show. Though her own children had all been stillborn, the milk that flowed so abundantly from the breasts of Alys Rivers had nourished countless babes born of other women at Harrenhal. Was she in truth a witch who lay with demons, bringing forth dead children as payment for the knowledge they gave her? Was she a simple-minded slattern, as Eustace believes? A wanton who used her poisons and potions to bind men to her, body and soul? Who knows, mate, but here she acts as a prophetic warning about what's going to happen if he stays on this path. You can see the fear wash across his face, and Matt Smith does a brilliant job with this moment. Now, Daemon is on this path because of his actions, in which Mysaria helped him to sneak into King's Landing to hire blood and cheese. Rhaenyra wants the same passage now, but instead she's going as a diplomat. Basically like when you have an argument with someone on the internet, and then you talk to them in real life, and you're like, "I actually like you, Ryan." It's the perfect mirror to what happened in the episode opening, and tonally it brings everything full circle. Now, Alicent and Rhaenyra never met like this in the work, but I appreciated the change-up. It's nice seeing two characters brought back together, even if the plan seems impossible. Travelling to the Sept, we see the same steps where the attempt was to snatch Aegon before the coronation. Inside, the pair finally come face to face, with Rhaenyra even having a blade in case Alicent tries to scream out. Rhaenyra says that the tourney showed the pair that while men have violence and brutality in them, that women don't. Thus, they can talk it out, but we'll see how well that goes, mate. Oop. Now, what I think comes from it is that Rhaenyra begins to doubt herself, for a bit anyway. This is due to Alicent bringing up what she takes as Aegon's prophecy. As we know though, Viserys thought he was saying it to Rhaenyra. Instead, Alicent took Aegon as being her son, and you can see why all these names get confusing. When we get into Rhaenyra's kid being called Aegon III, it's gonna be a nightmare, mate. Either way, Alicent swears on the memory of her mother, with this being a way she connected with Viserys. When she went to him, they had both lost someone, and Rhaenyra knows she wouldn't say this lightly. Rhaenyra says it was a mistake, that Alicent heard of Aegon's prophecy, but Alicent says there's been no issues. I do wonder though, if these words are going to sit with her, and if she's going to question this meeting. All the people are marching for war though, and it's too late to stop things. It's a brutal and big way to close out the episode, and what another bloody banger. As for Daemon and the prophetic tale he's going to die there, that actually is something I think will happen. Now, it has to be said that Daemon's body was never found, but the historians were convinced he died. Daemon arrived at Harrenhal during the war, where he waited for Aemond. Every night he slashed at the heart tree, which is the one that we see in this scene. Waiting 14 days, Aemond eventually arrived, and the pair battled above the God's Eye, which we also see in the location. At this point, Alys was actually Aemond's paramour, so you can see why they brought her into the series. During the fight, Daemon left from Caraxes and stabbed his sword Dark Sister into Aemond's remaining eye. The dragons toppled into the God's Eye as well, with Caraxes crawling to the shore just before dying. Vhagar and Aemond were also discovered, but like I said, Daemon wasn't found there. So he could end up surviving, however, Alys's prophecy here at least foreshadows the battle. There's also been these prophecies before in the show, with Rhaenyra's death being foreshadowed too.
Do you wish to know your death, child?
Either way, that's the end of the breakdown, and I hope you guys have had a good one going through the episode. I know that it's late for most of you. I appreciate you watching, and we will be back next week right after the episode releases to bring you all those book differences, Easter eggs, and everything we spotted. If we missed something, then make sure you leave it in the comments below, or Robert Baratheon's gonna call you a bastard. You bastard, Ned! You bloody bastard!